So first of all, let's try to understand alumina. Yeah. Alumina is in greater proportion in Earth's crust, right? So it's a very important part of everything in and around us. It's everywhere, like we spoke about. It's an energy resource. It's we use it in sports, in healthcare, aeronautics, food. In previous time, you must have seen many utensils were made up of aluminium. I don't know in Russia, but especially in India, very important part of security, space defenses. So many things in today's times are used with aluminum. The main state of alumina, and Kent writes very beautifully, and you know that I like to talk about Kent and Bonninghausen and Lippi and how they went in depth. And Kent writes that what does alumina exactly do? I'm going to read from the classical literature of Kent. He says alumina especially takes hold of the intellect. It confuses the intellect so much that the patient is unable to effect a decision. The judgment is disturbed. He's unable to realize the things that he knows and has known to be real seem to be unreal. What is real seems unreal, and what is unreal seems real. He's in doubt whether this is true or that is true. So it is an entire state of confusion. Can you imagine? In the provings, there is a very nice symptom of alumina, which I want to tell you. When he says anything, when the alumina person is saying something, he feels as if another person has said it. And when he sees something, he feels as if another person is seeing it, as if he could transfer himself into another and only then could see. So you can imagine this state of head belongs to another and this state of confusion of personal identity, which is so deep, comes in the provings with this very deep state of alumina. So what is alumina? Let's try to go a little deeper. And you know that when I talk about remedies, I like to talk about the original writings. And one of my favorite writers is Boger. And that's why I also want to talk to you about the clinical symptoms of alumina. Alumina has a special action on spinal cord, lumbar region, rectum, lower limbs, mucous membranes, and skin. Because in the spinal cord, lumbar region, and lower limb, it's very important for neurological cases, is alumina. Bonninghausen treated many cases of very complicated paralytic states with alumina. He has written a very nice article. And in most of the parts, alumina causes pathologically dryness of the skin, dryness of the mucous membrane, dryness of the rectum. That's why the constipation, no? Generally, alumina is aggravated by warmth. A very big aggravating factor is artificial food. And that's why many infants require alumina. Infants who are taking artificial food, which is not very healthy, they get constipated. Junk food, artificial milk. Think about alumina. Potato is a big aggravating factor. So if you know someone who cannot eat French fries, think about alumina. Alumina is aggravated by speaking. Alumina feels much better in the evening. And this is more or less about the modalities. Let's go a little more about understanding certain more patterns of alumina. Very nicely, Boger has written thin, inactive, inclines to lie down. So generally, the constitution of alumina will be very thin, like natrium or like plumbum metallicum. And one of the very big genius is very nice. Boger has written peritic effects. So there's a lot of exhaustion. In fact, there's a very nice symptoms of alumina where just talking is exhaustive. Even the menstruation is exhaustive, like sternum metallicum and carbo animalis. One of the important pathological process of alumina is dryness. It causes dryness everywhere. In fact, dryness around the eyes. If you're watching too many of my webinars and you feel dryness inside, alumina is a very important remedy to consider. Scanty, thick, acrid discharge, typically more in leukorrhea, very typical for alumina. Generally, most problems are very chronic in alumina. Very rarely will you use alumina in a very acute kind of issues. They often have an illusion that everything is passing very slowly. Why Dr. Gaurang is taking the lecture so slowly? Why he can't do fast enough? This is very typical for alumina. Yeah. The face start becoming wrinkled, the face start getting emaciated. Also very typical for alumina also. Let's try to understand a little bit more about the mind state of alumina, which I feel is very important. The main thing about alumina that I have seen in my practice, more or less, is one of the most important issues that they have is issues related with identity. There's a lot of confusion whether whether I will be able to be my own self, or I am so dependent on my husband that I can't have my own separate identity other than him. It's very important that they are so confused. I had a patient who required alumina, and she was so kind of had a state of confusion that she was actually wearing the same fabric and the clothes after marriage with her husband that her husband would wear. And I asked her that why would you do that? Why do you wear the same clothes like your husband? Exactly the same. And she says that, because as if I have intermingled with him. It's as if I think through his head, and he tells me whatever through his head, and that I'm totally confused about what I should do or who I am or what my choice is. This is a very deep pattern of aluminum. The identity typically has been so suppressed. It's almost as if someone has tried to shape them so much that they have forgotten who they are. They no longer can think for themselves. Interestingly, alumina is also the main component for clay. And this is what clay is. It's used for sculpture, isn't it? So there's a lot of confusion, huge confusion. The feeling is that, do I want to be me, or do I want to be what you want me to be? Very often they use words like shape. I shape myself. So she used the word, no, I'm like water. I shape myself. I am clay like. I mold myself according to the situation. Control is a very important theme in aluminum. Control at all levels, control of the limbs, control of the impulses, because they are very impulsive. Is alumina? They look at a knife and they feel I should just take it and just do something with it. So they have to control their impulses a lot. And also the theme is of someone controlling them and then themselves suppressing their identity so much that they don't know who they are at the deepest level. And probably at a deeper level there is this confusion also because they want to belong to the group, they want to belong, they need that care, that love, that support, and they feel that if they behave the way the abuser is trying to make them behave, they'll get more love probably because they are a little scared of having their own identity. A very interesting rubric is at sometimes certain states. Normally, you think alumina is confused, but they can also be very, very obstinate, just as their constipation is very obstinate, clay like the constipation. So, at a deeper level, this is the thing, the confusion of identity, the hesitation. Should I do this? Should I not do it? Some confirmations about alumina that we'll talk about. We spoke about the fact that they are generally intolerant to potato. They have brittle nails. Everything becomes slow. This is very important. Their state becomes gradually very, very slow. There is a sluggishness of functions that you can see in the digestive tract also. And they get a lot of cracks like silica and graphitis. Let's try to see some rubrics of alumina before we go ahead. Some interesting rubrics that we should know about alumina as key rubrics. And I'm opening the Kent repertory because I think that's the most basic um, kind of repertory. There's a rubric, very nice rubric of alumina. Cannot look at blood or knife. Why? Because they are impulsive. They look at blood or knife. One, they faint, or two, they feel they'll take the knife and do something. This kind of because of this impulse, very deep part of, and you can see it's one of the biggest rubric in confusion of mind, confusion at all levels, confusion as to his identity. Let's see further. There's a rubric: delusion, imagination belongs to another consciousness, as if they are not themselves. Very, very interesting. Delusion, everything is unreal. Very often, I have seen alumina patients getting dreams of snakes. So it's something that you would know, you would want to know. And I'm just telling you the very important rubrics that I see in patients, okay? Fear of doing suicide. So many of these alumina patients who have mental health issues, they are very scared because they have an impulse. If they look at the fan, they feel, what if I do a suicide? I get an impulse to do it. This is something that you will see also. So there is a rubric. Injury, fears to be left alone because he might injure himself. It's a very syphilitic remedy, is alumina. Yeah. And they are very also very indecisive. Yeah. They make a lot of mistakes in names, mistakes while talking, using wrong words. They will call Tatiana is Galina and Galina is Tatiana. Imagine. I'm really taking you step by step and taking you through every important part of it in such a way that you know the practical part of the remedy. There's also a rubric in Alumina, which I have seen in some cases. Smiling never. Interesting.